15 and it is a new week, fresh start. I hope everyone has already woken up, and of course we are kickstarting your day. And here to give you related issues regarding business for the business fraternity. How is your morning? How is work going? How are you prepared as you're setting off from work, regardless of what happened over the weekend? It's now to focus. I expect everyone to focus. Now it's a Monday, the 28th of August 2023. We are wrapping up the month. We are left with only 3 days to finish up the month. What have you done so far? Have you done anything productive? Have you gained some profits? Have you missed out losses? Of course, when it comes to losses, definitely we have to improve the next coming month. And of course, I'm here to give you the very best of information. And of course, if you want to invest in government bonds security, don't forget Zapio got you. Of course, you can reach out to them when you dial *292# and follow the prompts that proceed there. Of course, it's sponsored by Altus East Africa, and it says do something new. You can start investing as low as 15,000 shillings, which is quite affordable for anyone at any time. And of course, starting working hours begin at 8:15 a.m., which is a few minutes from now. And of course, 3:15 p.m. that is 7 hours. So between that time, you can invest in government bonds and securities. And of course, don't forget the weekend and public holidays. It's off for Monday up to Friday. You have the chance to invest with Zabo, My Money, My Future, and Altus East Africa says do something new. Well, and of course, in our morning call today, we have something interesting for you as PSFU prioritizes youth, women, MSMEs in a new funding program. These are actually, I must say, these are actually women, youth. They're usually a group of people that are really fragile. Mostly youth, mostly youth. And of course women. Now, of course, the private sector funding Uganda, that is PSFU, the leading body representing Uganda's private sector, has set its sights on fostering impactful empowerment for the country's youth, women, and micro, small, medium enterprises. Yes. So the majority of the women and youth are going to be benefiting from this very program. So definitely, if you are a youth and you're starting out a business, wait for this program. They could have some training on financial management, on how to handle your business. So definitely, that's it. Now, this strategy is believed to hold a key to a transformative shift in Uganda's economy. That is according to Stephen Asimwe, the executive director of PSFU. Now, of course, during this argument with groups recently, under the theme, Grow Your Business with PSFU. PSFU is the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Of course, you see, the private sector has a huge impact on every economy, okay? They are the ones that drive us. So definitely the money that comes in, we get more from the private sector. And this year actually, the fiscal year 2023-2024, we are mostly focusing on collaborating with the private sector alongside government. Now, of course, Asimwe also highlighted that this approach is rooted in data and aligns with PSFU's refreshed strategic plan 2022-2025. That is a space of 3 years, and designed to champion inclusive and sustainable development within the private sector. You must say, when you talk of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, mostly of them are in the private sector. That is where the small businesses are, the medium ones are, so definitely this is a good thing, a good initiative, I must say. Now, of course, he continued to say that the current projects and interventions are geared towards empowering young people, women, and small businesses. Like I said, this is a particular group of people, that youth occupying a huge percentage of Uganda, and the emphasis being on them. That means there's going to be a huge impact on our country, Uganda. And of course, women Most of them are into these small, medium enterprises, the small businesses, the ones that, go out in the market to solicit goods. They're into agriculture. So definitely, why not give them this opportunity for them to rise up, and we could have a beautiful, beautiful environment. Now, of course, among the prominent initiatives implemented by PSFU to support this trajectory is the Lead Farm Structure Program, established in partnership with Mastercard Foundation. Mastercard Foundation actually, I think, sponsors lots of programs, education, health, any program it facilitates, and it's coming here to facilitate yet again these youth, women, and medium enterprises. Now, of course, it said this lead farm structure has already catalyzed the creation of over 100,000 jobs, direct jobs, and 200,000 indirect jobs benefiting youth and women. How is that for a start? 100,000 direct jobs and 200,000 indirect jobs. Now, of course, PSFU said there is over 800 billion Ugandan shillings under the GROW project, with backing from the World Bank, which offers women entrepreneurs access to capital and comprehensive training in business governance and, of course, financial management. But when you come to think of it, this is something I must say I am rooting for. I want to see us develop as women, and of course the youth, me being a youth at the same time being a woman. What a thing, killing two birds at a go. Well, right now I'm joined with Andrew Barije, and of course he's going to be letting us know how his weekend was, and of course his opinion on PSFU having to a program for the youth, women, and of course micro, small, medium enterprises in Uganda. Morning, Andrew. How are you?
Morning, Mercy. How are you? I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, well, the weekend was actually normal, just as usual. Well, there's nothing different about it. Yeah. Now, getting back to our point in here in discussion about the private sector foundation to to set insights on fostering impactful empowerment, that is on the country's youth, women. Of course, this follows way, I think, still last week, when the State Minister for Finance mentioned something to do with the economy, like the government's projections towards the growth of the economy. According to the plan, the private sector has to take the lead in providing employment opportunities, So with this aspect, because we all know that actually following the massive numbers of the people that graduate from the different institutions yearly, you find that the jobs that every person is looking out for are the same jobs that have been there for quite some time, and the rate at which we start up new investments is a little bit late, and yet because every person is thinking about running to government, I want to get a job from government, but that is not sustainable, because now you see there was a discussion about cutting wages, but by the time they discuss about cutting wages of the government workers, that means there is a huge number of people, huge people on government payroll.
Some of them get laid off, obviously.
Yeah, they get laid off, so literally the payroll is huge, and following that the funds are not enough. But if we have another surplus of, something that can actually employ these Ugandans that are likely, those that are running, probably they are still in universities, but they know that, when I'm done here, I can actually go work here, in a private sector-led enterprise, So that is something quite efficient, and it's quite sustainable. The private sector is sustainable and realistic when it comes to sustaining employment, amongst the natives in the country. And I believe it's quite, it's the way to go, and let's really embrace it further. It's the real deal. From that perspective.
Well, of course, still in this report, the executive director said that Ugandans boast of a vibrant young population, which is true. Majority of us are young. So what is in for us if not given these initiatives to help us boost our economy, because we are the future of tomorrow. Okay, so definitely there has to be something done for us. And of course, with the women constituting a significant majority, you must realize actually, lately there are a lot of women. Many women, female a lot. So definitely empowering females is a way to go. Because now, I know they are flexible enough. Women are flexible enough. They can do these businesses, small businesses. They can do agriculture.
Yeah.
You know, they're flexible enough. So definitely, I must say, that group, the youth and women, is a good initiative.
Yeah.
Because they drive the economy, actually. An environment that has women and youth, it's a rich nation.
Yeah.
Because you have young brains, you have brains, you know.
True.
You have women that think beyond, you know, the normal. So definitely, why not have these certain group an opportunity for them to rise?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, he said our country thrives on entrepreneurial traits, a spirit, with a multitude of startups exhibiting immense potential. And of course, the emphasis on these segments is driven by the belief that their empowerment will yield substantial impacts on the revenue generation and job creation. Just as I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite interesting.
Absolutely.
absolutely right there. And of course, lastly, of course, with these numerous projects tailored for youth and women are underway. Just last month, they unveiled a youth engagement campaign aimed to boosting participation and involvement of the youth individuals in PSFU initiated initiatives. Now, of course, creating this platform for young voices to be heard, advocating for their interests and actively influencing policy decisions. That is according to Francis Chisirinya. Oh yeah, and that is the PSFU membership officer right there, giving us a report on the initiatives that they had started, and of course empowering the youth, engaging them. You know, that is the beauty about this. You know, you not only get maybe funding, but you also get the knowledge.
Exactly.
Know? There's also having funds, but then you do not have the knowledge. You don't have the discipline.
Yeah,
yes, the discipline of carrying out a business, how you're going to handle your finances. I think that is one of the reasons why, you know, when we talked about PDM and of course millions of money not being refunded, that means there was a gap. There is a gap.
Yeah.
Mostly financially, discipline.
Actually, the first phase was more of testing the waters to see how effective people will be like if you give them the little amounts of money. How are they going to utilize them? You know, so, and the utilization is all dependent on what knowledge do you have when it comes to spending a certain amount of money once given each you, and not just spending it, but spending it to effective use. You know, that it can really bring back the profits like how it ought to. So with that, we get to see that, like Mercy said, knowledge is quite key despite the funds that really coming through. The bigger picture is the knowledge. Well, that is it from our morning call for now. And now let's switch our eyes and take a look at what's making headlines into the press. Well, we have the East African, the Daily Monitor, and the New Vision with us, and there are quite lots of headlines in here. And the weekend was juicy on the sports.
Very interesting, very interesting. And of course, starting off with the New Vision, I see here I halted car plates still, and that is says. It's okay. And of course, the IGG warns over digital number plates. This has been making news last week, even now, still making headlines. What a thing. And of course, the president and the wife celebrating their 50th marriage anniversary. Quite emotional speeches shared right there. And of course, for the sports lovers, Kiplagat, those guys, they're not disappointing us, I must say. They're holding our flags high, and we are winning. This is a second gold from From the first one to now this one, of course, PSFU still here in the news, and of course, court okays USE in divorce cases. Well, quite interesting. Yeah, actually, the cancer run. Like there was a cancer run, and of course, 1.56 billion raised for cancer fight. There was a cancer run. Did you know people went running yesterday?
Heard about it though. I didn't actually get into the details.
Yeah, so it's good that we do this for, cancer
for the community. This is a community social related programs that, and as entrepreneurs, it's quite very important to participate in that, because it's one of the ways people feel connected.
1.56 billion raised.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That really shows Ugandans have the money.
They do.
They do.
But of course, that shows you the power of masses. If people come together and decided to meet for one cause, it's definitely inevitable to see success. Now, in the Daily Monitor here, we got something to do with Mao, Goat Daddy Kush. Of course, for polls, that's according to the Democratic Party bosses. And how effective is that? You'll find that out when you get yourself a copy of the new vision here. And now something here to do with the AIDS cash hunt in the balance. How is it handing in the balance? Get that, and you'll really find that out. Now, of course, as we also get into the East African newspaper in here, of course, something which has been really going on for the entire of last week, and I think for the last 3 weeks, about the BRICS. And of course, BRICS was Ethiopia, Egypt. That is an expansion. And we see that the bloc eyes bigger size for better stay. That is for a better say in the world's economy with alternative systems, which is resulting to that. And now something here to do with a familiar path from Zim on election day. Of course, as that is this Zim, of course, meaning Zimbabwe, as observers criticize conduct, but ruling party insists that is exercise above board. And of course, you know what is happening in there. Now, the East African Community Catchment Plan, and of course, we see something here to do with the entire Horn, even as Somalia prepares to join the East African community and has energized that is Secretariat talks for more members. And of course, a bigger bloc comes with more challenges. Like, of course, we got to understand that during the initial time of the East African community, the first 3 indigenous nations, that was Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, there seemed to have been some sort of productivity for the cooperation. And of course, the further we got a little bit enlarged in new members coming in, well, there was a little bit of stagnation when it comes to performance. There was underperformance as a result of that. Just like it is said here that with more, a bigger bloc comes with more challenges. As a result of that, Ethiopia,
you see,
Somalia.
You see, even when you look at what are we incorporating, Somalia is coming in the East African bloc. We're already facing, actually, even before we expanded East Africa to Rwanda and we already had internal challenges. So imagine those that are coming, they're also going to. At the end of the day, they will have to split sides. Yeah. Some will be joining the other, and it's not going to work, really. Even this thing may happen to the BRICS eventually. You see, they're already divided within. The dollarization, and the other ones want to collaborate with the US. So imagine those that are coming, and which side are they going to go with?
No, but I think the success of any bloc determines on the major nations.
Okay.
The only reason why the BRICS would fail is because China and Russia may not be cooperating.
Yeah.
But of course, which is not true, they cooperate. So as long as they're still cooperating, then the BRICS are still on the block. Unlike the East African community, where the pioneer nations still have internal issues in terms of, and all that. So definitely that makes it inevitable to see challenges come that way. Well, it's exactly 20 minutes past 7. And well, at this point in time, we're heading to the traffic to take a look at what's really happening in there. And that is the access road. Of course, that are adjacent to the Junior Road traffic lights, the situation we're observing. And well, quite a huge number of border borders and police traffic officers are coming out to have, ultimate control over the congestion in here. But of course, we anticipate the best. Of course, last week the students went back to school. Well, and of course, coming in the morning, you get to realize that some places weren't really as much as congested as that. But anyway, let's see for today's Monday morning, for those that are, fresh day, getting back, reporting to the different places of work. Others are running to your businesses, and yeah. And of course, in such moments, I get to understand that if the schools have closed and majority of the businesses have actually been surviving on the schools, that means, of course, they will still operate, but definitely it creates the less demand for somebody to be really so early. But I think it shouldn't be that way. You don't just serve a certain group of people, but you serve all kinds of people. But I know that's just my opinion, depending on how you prospect yourself, depending on how depending on the vision you have as an entrepreneur with the business you do. Now, of course, we'll switch our eyes. This is the Yusuf Lule route. You can see it's really very empty. Not really seeing just a bunch of people walking, heading to work. These are coming in from the different areas. Madrid, of course, probably could be coming in from Shibuli because it's the nearest residential area nearby there. And of course, some who have come from the city center, walking all the way, coming in down here, and they're heading to the different destinations of work. Now, of course, switching our eyes back to the Kampala Road, joining Ginger Road. Just not so many vehicles. Just that there is the time they take to be held by the traffic lights is quite long, by the way. So you gotta be a patient person to really be able to maneuver through, as we can see. Access road roundabout seems to be calm. I'm not seeing quite lots of vehicles in there, despite the pothole, the roundabout around there, and it's quite a friendly perspective in there if you can observe it that way. So if you're coming in from Chibuli, you're coming in from 6th Street, we're talking about 8th Street, 6th, 7th Street, 8th Street, and they have quite, those are lots, they are more of residential areas actually. You can really see it's kind of, it's a consideration. So you're coming in from Chibuli, you're coming in from Zambia, and yeah, the access route would be ideal for you if you're coming to the city center. I don't know what's happening at Clock Tower, but of course it might also be speaking out the same. But anyway, that can only be told by seeing what is happening in there. So the route is actually free here for the people that are dwelling in Chibuli and you work in town. Yeah, the Kampala Road vehicles heading in there have just been gotten released, but you can see they are almost held for about 8 minutes. 5 to 8 minutes probably. Okay, minimum 5 minutes, but that is quite but 5 minutes might be quite friendly. You can feel them, but these normally take long. That's why some vehicles actually opt for connecting to via Nile Avenue to Garden City, and now they link up straight, most especially those that are heading to Nakawa, even Bugolobi, areas like Port Bell Road definitely, and Ginger Road, and all those areas along. Yeah, so you can really see what is happening in there. Few number of border borders actually, they're not so many, but they're mild, they're moderate. Yes, as compared to on other days, as we can see, the officers taking charge, absolute charge, to put these vehicles on hold. To monitor them as they move to the different destinations, and of course, very purposeful when it comes to maintaining that is the harmony in such a morning, so that's to avoid any possible accidents in there. Well, it's exactly 25 minutes past 7, and that is it for the traffic update this morning. And that is from the Ginger Road Junction. You can really see it's quite a fair place for any person, and regardless of any destination where you're coming in from and you're planning to connect to the city, the entire route seems to be a little bit very friendly. Well, still to remind you, it's a fresh new week. It's the 28th of August. But then to remind you that the markets on the Zabo platform are back. Yes, and to participate, it's quite simple. Star 292 hash. With this perspective, you'll be in position to actually buy government bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000. You get on shillings. Yes, 15,000 Ghana shillings you can get. You buy those bond securities. Now the markets are going to be opening at exactly 8:15 a.m. run all the way to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. This is effective Monday up to Friday. Apart from the weekends and the public holidays when this market's going to be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money. That's something which I believe personally that is actually important when it comes to your financial growth and development as an individual. Zabo made this a reality, so you get to participate into these markets. And trading bonds and securities is the new normal. That's why Zabo says, my money, my future. And Altex East Africa tells you, well, you got to do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023. Well, at this point now, let's take a short break. And of course, we shall be returning to take a look at what's happening within the East African bloc, definitely, and wind it up to the top of the hour of 8 a.m. With the international business updates. Stick around.